Hello, everybody. I hope you're doing well. Welcome to Cow Daily. This episode, I've thought a bit long and hard about what I wanted to cover today, and originally it was about just a general news roundup. But I've just been looking at the sort of comments and whatever on my social media, and I wanted to cover one particular thing. Are the environmental protesters what they seem? Because what I'm seeing is a lot of classism, and it's not directed at working class people for once. It's directed at middle class people, and it's not just from working class people. It's from upper middle class people too, like Nigel Farage, who, strangely enough, the working class people I've seen are just parroting his talking points. And I think especially some of them, would be aghast to realize that they were just on the Farage train. But anyway, before we get into all of that, please, if you're watching this, watch it on youtube.com/Cow Daily. We're trying to get the channel monetized. We're over halfway there. We're living on a prayer. So if you could get yourselves to youtube.com/Cow Daily, that would be top. Thank you very much. Also, if you want to directly support our work, go to patreon.com/Cow Daily, patreon.com/Cow Daily. There's an episode that isn't on general release yet with James from Just Stop Oil. Kind of fits in with the day. We've took the time to actually go and speak to these people, and we haven't always got it right over the weeks. As you know, I apologized directly to Just Stop Oil on a show a couple of weeks ago. It was because of the way I reacted to the Captain Tom statue action. But I suppose we could be forgiven for that somewhat. But at the same time, it's never as easy as that, and we'll try and unpack some of that here today. Also, if you could let me know that you are here in the comments, that would be absolutely top. First thing I want to do is just add this to the stream. This is an interview with Indigo Rumbelow, which is a fantastic name, I'm sure you'll agree. And if I'm honest, I heard that name and I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, man, Indigo Rumbelow, what kind of thing is that? But guess what? Sometimes we've got to look past our prejudices, because speaking for myself, that's exactly what I was doing. So we'll start this off. I might stop it as we go along and cover some of the points within. But here is War Indigo talking about the things. If I can get the bastard started, that is. Right, just bear with us. There's some kind of problem with my computer here, which is bloody brilliant. I'm sure you'll agree. Right, computer's working again. Absolutely.
Chief Constable of Essex, he says this: I think it is only a matter of time before somebody gets killed. The only way this is going to stop is if Just Stop Oil frankly grow up and realize that they are putting people's lives at risk. Doesn't he have a point that you need to grow up before someone gets killed? Because you're making your point, you can make your point in other ways.
So the way I see it, we're completely addicted to fossil fuels. Have you ever tried to ask someone to stop smoking?
Yes, look, I know.
So I've asked my dad to stop smoking, and that's because I loved him, yes? And he was told that if he keeps smoking, he's going to get cancer. Yes. And the scientists will tell him, you know, he's going to get cancer. But it's not a very pleasant process. No, one second. Could I just finish? Because you're asking me about the disruption, and I'm accepting
the disruption you're causing.
Yeah, I'm accepting that it isn't pleasant, and
Right, I'm just going to stop that there for a moment, right? Think about this, right? What is your first reaction when Indigo opens her mouth? Mine, as somebody who grew up on a council estate in the northeast of England, is holy fucking shit. What the hell is this? What is she talking about? And it's not really the content of what she's saying, it's how she's saying it. She talks very posh like this. And that for me is internalized classism. I'm not focusing on what she's saying. And guess what? Classism goes both ways. Both ways. Working class people do it just as much as middle class people do it. And it's about time we acknowledge this. Yes, I get it. Indigo is sounding all very posh, all of that. But let's listen to what Indigo actually says rather than how she's saying it.
Accepting that we feel empathy for all of those people out there. But what we're trying to do is to get everyone to come together, to get our government to stop licensing new oil and gas in order to save life.
But there are ways of doing it that can avoid tens of thousands of people having their lives completely
disrupted. Just weeks ago, a third of Pakistan was underwater. The rains have failed in Somalia for the 5th year in a row, meaning mothers cannot feed their children.
But we know that, and we covered that. We had correspondents out there. There is a COP27 conference.
You may have been covering it, but the media has failed to make political change.
Hang on,
politics has failed.
Right, let us interject at this point. No lies being spoken by Indigo there, is there? And guess what? She's got the absolute stones to get up there on national TV and debate this guy who's obviously doing the usual thing that so-called journalists do, which is gotcha. They're trying to generate clips so they can put those out. I mean, the way this was titled was all about Indigo's tone. It was like news presenter challenges Just Stop Oil protester for shouting. It's not about what she's saying. And I mean, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how long environmental protests have been going on. And I'm going to give you a personal example. I tell you what, I've talked too much personal shit this week, but sometimes you've just got to bring it in. But anyway, let's hear the rest of what Indigo's got to say.
Us. I'm 28. This is the 27th COP conference. And what has happened every single year? The emissions have risen and risen and risen. If you were doing your job properly, everyone would be out on the streets.
So we have
but they're not. And I really want you to understand. Do you know how grave the situation is?
I do understand.
And do you have children?
I've got children.
And do you love those children?
Indigo, please. I understand the point.
So here we are. And I love ever doing this. Do you have children? Clearly, that permeates these so-called journalistic bullshit or repeater or whatever we want to call these people. It gets through to them, but then obviously the so-called professional head appears to come back on.
You're making. You are here today to justify the tactics. You're effectively.
Do you love those children more than you love fossil fuels?
You are committing a crime. Why should?
That's what we're asking you to do. We're asking you to side with young people who are asking our government very politely, in line with the UN, saying that we need to come off fossil fuels.
That's one point.
With the knowledge that we're going to go over 1.5 degrees and this will undermine the rule of law. We're asking people.
Stop shouting at me, Indigo.
To just.
Look, you are breaking the law. Your protests are law breaking. Why should you be allowed to interfere with the rights of ordinary law-abiding people going about their daily business? That's the question I'm asking.
let's me and you, we can come together, we'll put a referendum up and it'll say, would you like to destroy much of life on Earth, including everything you know and love, or would you like to not? Would you like your government to insulate your house, give you an affordable public transport system, tax the polluters who are making money off people who are starving and cold and hungry in their homes this winter? What do you want to do? So destroy everything we know and love.
COP27 making this point. Why are you at COP27? That is the forum.
Destroy everything you know and love.
This point.
Or not.
There are more oil lobbyists at COP27 than there are people like you. Why aren't you there making your point?
Yeah, and back to this idea. Isn't that disgusting?
Why do you...
Imagine that. Think about my dad when he was smoking. Imagine if the cancer research invited Benson and Hedges into their, debate on what they're going to do about lung cancer.
Indigo, answer me this. What do you achieve?
It's disgusting.
Well, I'm just...
Right, straight away, It does the tone of the way she speaks. It's ingrained in me as a working class person, right, who grew up in the 80s and 90s in my childhood in the northeast of England. The spectre of the miners' strike hanging over everything, and anybody who sounds like Indigo, it was ingrained really in us that they're there to take things away from us. So I have internalized prejudice towards people who speak like that. But do you want to know the ultimate irony? She doesn't speak exactly like Indigo, not even close. But my partner is middle class. She went to boarding school, all of that. We had stuff there. The odd couple, some would say, but we love each other very much because we see through all of this shit. And my partner has taught me so much and evolved my thinking around the class system as I have with her. And it gets sometimes like very upsetting because we're both ingrained in what we grew up with formatively, and we've taught each other so much because we try at all times to overcome these thorny issues from a place of love. So I would feel like it would just be utterly remiss not to actually talk about this. And I'm on here every day, and quite a lot of the time, I'm working out this stuff in real time. New evidence presents itself, or I'll confront myself with my own bullshit. And part of sitting up here on camera doing this today is that. Like, what about what Indigo was actually saying? Like, there's a couple of times within that where I was like, oh, God, I feel like I'm being told off by Margaret Thatcher. But that, again, is that whole 1980s Thatcher scarring thing. Sometimes for a laugh, I call my partner Thatch if she's like telling us off or appears to be. And quite often she's not. It's just how she talks. You know, I also, you know, as a working class person, I can get quite loud and appear to be aggy when I'm not. You know, we've all got our bloody crosses to bear. It just comes out differently, but it's kind of the same before it gets to the filter of the mouth sometimes, and the accents and the norms and the values and whatever. So leave Indigo Rumbelow the fuck alone. That is a class name anyway. Indigo Rumbelow, man. Come on. Saying that though, do you remember Rumbelows in the 80s who delivered the tellies? Imagine if she's like some of the heiress to the Rumbelows fortune. But that's by the by. People are saying, right? And by people, I mean that loosely, because here's Nigel Farage. Nigel Farage is saying this stuff, but we'll come back in a minute.
Just Stop Oil protesters and the people getting up on the gantries on the M25. Have you noticed who they are? The latest one is called Indigo. Generally, they're called Jocasta or Sebastian. They're nearly all upper middle class spoilt brats who clearly have got nothing better to do in their lives, don't understand fundamental economics, couldn't give a damn about people going about their business. After all, none of these kids will probably ever have to work. And hey, if you miss your parents' funeral, it isn't really their fault. But of course, there's been a narrative from Prince Charles, David Attenborough, right through the educational system and most of our political class that we're all about to die. Remember, China have produced more CO2 since 2013 than we have since 1750. I don't see them paying any reparations.
Right, first of all, that bell end there, I'll come back to him in a minute. The last point there about China, right, it's if you look at it per capita, that's per head of population, it's actually substantially less. So people like to cherry pick things left and right, don't they? But anyway, Farage is saying that all of these people here are just upper middle class and whatever. We'll talk about his background in a minute, but I'm going to share something with you, right? Here's me. I'm on the top of the Esso Garage, Barrack Road, Newcastle. This is in 2001, about 3 or 4 days after 9/11. Strangely enough, it was big news at the time, but because we did this and closed shit down and whatever, it got on the local news. It actually knocked Bin Laden off the news as well, which was no mean feat at the time. I got arrested for this, right? The banner reads, "Stop car culture before it kills us all." This was it 2022, 21 years ago, over 2 decades ago, we were at this. And this kind of stuff was going on before I got involved, which was It was a year or two earlier than this. There's me in the back of the busy car. Obviously, I was getting arrested for it. Yeah. Friendly neighborhood Alice Wolf was there as well. I think she might even took the picture. So I've blurred me two mates' heads out. I don't actually have the wingspan of an albatross to hold this banner up, but outside the SO garage, it's a banner on a bed sheet, profit and greed, make my lungs bleed, SO, $signs, and whatever. All working class lads there. Like, I mean, obviously there was this is in the picture, but there was also people there who spoke a bit like Indigo, and we all got along canny, and we met in the middle generally on like the rave scene and warehouse parties. All this like divisionary talk can get in the bin. I know people from all walks of life, and a lot of it's through activism and raves. We've been putting raves on since before then, before 2001. You don't just check people's working class credentials on the way in. If they're sound with us, we're sound with them. So here is another bit of my point, right? This is an article from our local newspaper, the Newcastle Evening Chronicle, right? And this is from 16th of July this year, 2022. Extinction Rebellion hold protest in Newcastle city centre. Campaigners visited a number of sites in the city, including the SO garage near St. James's Park, exactly the same one that I've just shown you a picture of me on the top, and the construction site at the new HMRC office on Pilgrim Street before concluding at the quayside. This is the crack, right? We've been at this, right? At this for over 2 decades. People, as I say, people have been at this far longer than I have. We've tried everything, petitions, being polite, marches. See, there's another one there, July 22nd, Extinction Rebellion. They went exactly the same place I was arrested on in 2001. That's another part of this narrative I'm seeing develop. What would you have us do different here? I mean, I say us, I haven't done any direct action for a long time. I mean, I suppose this is my form of it now. But I tell you what, I noticed this in myself when we did this on the show the other week. I was laughing and taking the piss out of the Captain Tom thing. And, I mean, obviously, it was a mad thing throwing shit over the top of Captain Tom. But as I said, during the apology that I did a couple of weeks ago, I mean, when I was 21, would I have done something like that? Quite possibly, yes. That's just a reality, and that's just a fact. You don't have to be so-called upper middle class to be giving it 9 out about all that. So anyway, Farage, giving it the whole Indigo's upper middle class, this spoiled brat next. Have you seen his background? Right, this is from the Encyclopedia Britannica, right? Farage was born into a prosperous family. His father was a stockbroker. Nigel, nobody where I'm from, none of their fathers were stockbrokers at all. So he attended Dulwich College, a prestigious private school in London. At age 18, instead of pursuing a university education, he became a commodities trader, initially joining the Conservative Party. I don't know any sons of stockbrokers who went on to be commodities traders at all. Not from where I'm from anyway. Since then, I've met people like that, but not from where I'm from. So why on earth, right, are people, including on our social media, promoting Nigel Farage's talking points from that video I've just played? What the fuck is that about? It's people like him leveraging this internalized classism that we as working class people have got. Anybody who talks a little bit like this, apart from the good ones who are saying, in your mind, who are saying the things you want them to say. And there's even some people on the left, man, that they're steaming into Just Stop Oil. Who else is doing anything at all within the timescale that we've bloody got? Anyway, more Farage. People from his school are called Old Elenians at Dulwich College, right? These people did not go to my comprehensive school in Gateshead. Sir Ernest Shackleton, Sir P.G. Woodhouse, Raymond Chandler, Sir Edward George, Bob Monkhouse, Michael Onadachi, Chiwetel Ejiofor, hope I did them justice, politician and broadcaster Nigel Farage, the cricketer Trevor Bailey, C.S. Forrester, and the architect CFA Voisey Paul Senior. Great. Really happy for you that you had the opportunity to continue to be an upper middle class person there, Nigel. But none of these people were anywhere near my school, ever. Further things about his school. This from the Daily Mail. The Hitler Youth claims that hangover Nigel Farage's school days. Fellow pupils at his elite public school. That's the Daily Mail saying Nigel Farage went to an elite public school for upper middle class and upper class people. The establishment. The people who believe this fucking horror bag. Honestly, man. Further stuff. This is from Open Democracy. Exclusive. Influential UK net zero skeptics funded by US oil dark money. Net Zero Watch says it won't take cash from fossil fuel investors, but we discovered a funder with millions in oil. From this article, earlier this year, Nigel Farage announced he was forming a new campaign for a referendum on net zero. Farage's financial backers include the private equity billionaire Jeremy Hoskin, who Open Democracy recently revealed has huge financial interest in fossil fuels. Oh, I wonder why Farage is on this latest grift. Is it because he's getting money to cause more distension? If you were watching a previous episode where I showed you that clip about Steve Bannon when he was propositioning Farage and using immigration, so it's in one of the immigration podcasts. Bannon, one of his sort of stated aims is to dismantle all of the sort of anti-climate protester stuff. Farage is just some kind of little puppet. He just goes wherever the money is. And he's been really successful at it. But guess what? Anybody could be successful with the amount of resources that have been put behind him by bad people. And yet, we see people on our social media every day parroting this fucking shit. Whereas people who have our best interest at heart, like Indigo Rumbelow, are getting all manner of shite. And I get it. She's called Indigo Rumbelow. It is a kind of nobody was called Indigo Rumbelow when I was at school either. So I've had to work through all of the internalized class prejudice. And I invite you, good people, today to do the same. Because the top bottom of it is we haven't got much time left. And if we don't, we're fucked. This is why. Keep showing this. 21st of October, 2022, United Nations press release, climate change, the greatest threat the world has ever faced, UN expert warns. No lies being spoken by Indigo Rumbelow whatsoever. Also, just a little plug as well. As you can see on the screen, James from Just Stop Oil appeared on Milk Cow Podcast. You can find that currently on patreon.com/cowdaily. If you want to support the work, you can go and access that there. That'll be out soon also for general release. But just wanted to give like a little perk to the patrons because you give me hope every fucking day that we can make this work. So if you're humming and hawing and thinking about supporting, well, please get behind me and do it, man. We need you to. Also, if you want to make a one-off donation to our work, PayPal, links in the description. Let's take some comments before we get off, though. John O is saying, I like her. As Admiral Nelson said, forget the maneuvers, just go straight at them. Yeah, man. B62, boom, one. Fair play to her. Refreshing, man. Nice, like it. Mark Lungley is saying, come on, StreamYard. Let's see what Mark's got to say. Yeah, we'll go. Finally, if there's a referendum on net zero, anyone over 40 shouldn't vote. I'm inclined to agree with you, actually. And I'm 45. That would be an interesting and refreshing thing to do, actually. Give the people who it's really going to affect, give them the say. See how fast things change. Bob Grady in the house. The attack line of upper middle class protesters has spread throughout social media. It has. And it comes from repeaters like Farage and other mates of his in the friggin' media. And that's what I wanted to point out today, because as people have pointed out to us, I still talk like this. I've basically been around my partner a lot, and also I've had a job where I had to work in London, so the accent has changed, and sometimes I talk like a bit like a Senti Borrell. But that's just natural, and that's life. ultimately, I'm still a poor Raj Packet from Gates Lake. Nah, it's top and bottom it is, right? Leave people like Indigo and James and others alone and stop bouncing on Farage's dick. You look like a cringe. Anyway, cheers, everybody. I hope you guys have an absolutely fantastic weekend. Please do share this stuff with people if it strikes a chord with you. That would be really appreciated. And just have a fucking great time. You know what I mean? Now but love for Alias as ever. The weekend's here. See yous.